Hello, my fellow capsuleers. Today's video is about scanning. Uh, scanning signatures using the probe scanner, which I have open here. But just a few basic information first. So there are some ships that are kind of meant for scanning. So just showing a few here. So the Magnate is one. It has the 7.5 bonus to core and combat scanner probes. So we're using the core scanner probes today. So with each MR frigate level, you get a 7.5 accumulated bonus. Another one is the Heron, and that each faction has its own scanner ship, like this. What I'm using today is the Astero. I use that because it can cloak. So I could just warp somewhere, cloak up, and do my scanning. I don't have to worry about people trying to scan me down if I'm in bad areas. If you're solely doing this in HiSec, that is not an issue. Well, of course you can be scanned down and ganked, but I don't think a lot of people are ganking scanner ships. But I like to use the Astero. It has slightly higher bonuses. I say slightly, even though this says 37.5, but remember it's 7.5 per level on the other one. So a level 5 frigate skill gets you close to this bonus that I have here. But I just like to use it because I can cloak up, or I should say warp cloaked, because in the other scanner ships you can install a cloak and warp somewhere and start scanning and then cloak up and be there. So that's doable also. Um, so another few things. Scanning. There are a few skills that are required or good to have. They are all in the scanning section of the skills. And the basic one is the Astrometrics, which gives you a plus 5% on all different aspects of it. So the strength of the scanner probes, the scan deviation, and the scan time. So that's the key one to have. And then there are supporting skills for each of those three. So astrometric acquisition, which reduces the scan time even further. Range finding, which is the probe strength, and the astrometric pinpointing, which is the scan deviation. Scan deviation is how precise is the scan. So the bigger the deviation, the less reliable is the scanning results. So that's a good one to have high also. You don't need to have them in 5 as I do. If you have them at 5, some things are a little bit easier, and I'll show that, or at least faster. But you can get away with lower strengths or levels on these ones. I have the scanner probe open here. You can also access it from down at this icon. That's where you can access both Moon Probe, Probe Scanner, Directional Scanner, and also the solar system maps, which you're using when scanning. I like to use the shortcuts, so I will use shortcuts, and hopefully I remember to call out which shortcuts I'm using. So for the scanner probe, it's Alt P, turns it on and off. And the solar map is F9, turning that on and off. If you're doing this for some of the first times, you'll see that when you open the scan probe or the probe scanner, it'll also open the solar map, and you can actually there's an icon up here where you can say if the probe scanner is docked or not within the solar map. I prefer to have it not in the solar map, so I can still have my probe scanner window open, even though I'm not actively using the solar map. again hitting the F9 to close out the solar map. And on shortcuts, those make your life a lot easier when scanning. So I'm going to show you 3 shortcuts that I've made. So in the shortcuts, I hit escape to get into this menu. So shortcuts, combat. There is a decrease probe scan range, an increase probe scan range, and a refresh probe scan. I have set these just to my preferred ones, 1, 2, 3. That did require me to remove the 1, 2, 3 from tag item as 1, 2, 3 because that's the default that they are there. So I just cleared those ones and added 1, 2, 3 to these ones. And it just makes it so much faster to scan things down, as I'll show you. As I said, I'm cloaked, and right now I cannot scan because the way I would start is to launch the scanners. I always use this icon, but as you can see, I cannot do that when I am cloaked. There's just one thing to remember: always put out your scanner probes before cloaking up. Otherwise, you get that damn cloaky timer countdown that you need to wait a few seconds before you can recloak, as we will see now, because now I need to uncloak. I'm deploying my scanners. I see them here. Now I just have to wait for this to go down before I can cloak up again. Not that you have to wait for it, but let's just do that for the sake of this video. So now I'm back cloaked up. So when I have a lot of signatures here, the first thing I do is launch my probes or scanner probes as I did, and then I just hit analyze to start with. Then it goes, then it starts doing that, and then going to open my solar map, because then it does the first pass, and then I can just start to get ready here. So I'm in the solar map, and I'm using the scroll wheel to zoom in and out of this thing. I always make sure that this marker is aligned properly, so not having it crooked or anything. That's just what I like, having it like that. And then instead of pulling in the arrows, I always take on the top, because then I'm sure that I'm only moving it in that plane of a 3D environment. It's just a lot easier for me, and also then it's kind of centered. If I move it here, I need to move it further, and I can only move it in that direction. If I take it here, I can move it everywhere, so that just makes it a lot easier. And also, you need to align this because it is a 3D plane. So, well, we can't see it. Let me just see if we can go down here. Down here, there are 2 icons: top view and side view. And you see that it moves so that I can now move it in another plane of existence, or what we should say, in that 3D environment. But there is a shortcut for that. Double click where there is not an icon, and it will move that. That's another one of those really nice things to know, that you don't have to go down here and do this. And even if you didn't know it was there, it makes it a lot easier also. So that's kind of those things. Now the shortcuts that I have. So if I hit 1, it increases the range here from 4 to 8, 16 to 32, and 2 takes it down further. And if I want to scan again, I hit the 3, that's the same as hitting the analyze button. So it does a new refresh. So that's kind of the basics. Because I started out just launching and analyzing immediately, I can see that I have already found some things here. So I could just start to scan those down immediately. So what you can do is you can either click on the item out here, or you can double click on one of these here, and it will center on those items. So if I start zooming in and out, you'll see that it is centered on that item that we want to scan down. And now it's just a matter of taking your marker and put it center on that one in both the top view and the side view as I'm switching between here. Now we did the initial scan on 4AU, that's the default. So when we want to do the next step, we go in, whoops, wrong one, go in one level. So the next level is 2AU, and you do another. If you go further in, let's say into 1AU directly from 4AU, it depends on your scanning abilities if it's doable or not. And that's the scan deviation skill that comes in there, because if the deviation is too big, if you go in from 4 to 1, the actual location of it might deviate from what you see, and the location is now outside of your scanner range. So the scan result that you have actually gets worse if you do a scan. So that's why I only went in one here. But this was even enough to find this one. Then I usually save it to my bookmarks somewhere, and after that I ignore it. Now it goes into this ignored section, and it goes away here, so it doesn't clutter up what I've already found. And then I go on to the next one. So here's another one that it has kind of found a location. This is one of the interesting ones because it is showing a mirror here. So in the scanning, there are some things that makes it come out as this mirror. What you can 99% of the time rely on is the one that is furthest away from your center is usually the one that's the right one. But you also see when I go to the side view that one of them goes a lot further down than the other one. And that's usually also an indication that this is the correct one. As I mentioned, you can click on this to center this view. I usually just take it down there, and then my cursor is already on it, and then I click. And you'll see that there are some discrepancies on when it is, so I need to realign this, and then go to the top view and align it there. Now, I already went in from 4 to 2AU. So now I can just scan all the ones that I have found without reducing the probe range. And we saw here that that I picked the right one, because now it's finding one. It might come up and say that it didn't find anything. Then you need to go to the other mirror item and scan that down, and that's the right one. Sometimes it's not really as obvious as it was this time which one it was. But we didn't finalize it, so now I'm going in there, centering it, side view, center it, and then I go down one more, hitting my 2 key. So zoom it down and hitting 3 to do another scan on them. And it's scanned. Then I take the next one. I don't have one here, but I can see one here. So it's different. Then I just go and do like that. But now I need to remember that I zoomed in an extra time from 2 to 1 and able to scan the other one down. So now I just need to go out one for this one. Hit 3 to scan. Oh, and then ignore this. When it's scanning and you do something here, it's kind of buffered. So when it refreshes, now it's gone and ignored. And it found this one, which is down here. So now I can ignore that one. So now I've scanned down all the ones that I found in the initial one. Now I need to go and find the other ones. And for that, I look at what are the locations. So I have one all the way out here. Let me just take this one here. All the way out here, which covers this area. I have one here, covers this area, and one here. So an interesting thing is that the objects are usually within the 4AU scan range of a planet. So when I have these ones, I don't want to go here because it might actually be all the way up here and I'm not getting a good scan result all the way down here. But because of that thing that it's within 4AU, I can just center on the planet here, just making sure that I have it on both sides, and then take my scan resolution out to 4AU and analyze, hitting 3. Again, 90% of the time that's true. In some cases it won't find it, and we'll see if we hit that scenario here. But then we just have to go specifically to the item, even though it's marked with an X. But we saw that with this scan we actually found 2 new ones. So I'm going here, zooming in one. Now I'm aligned on both sides and I scan. It didn't really find it this time. Some of the sides are pretty hard to track down. So now I'm going on the other one, just zooming in a bit. You can see as you zoom in that the further out you are, the less precise it is. So when you have some things that's really hard to pin down, you really need to make sure that you are in the middle. So zooming in a lot and see that you are spot on that one. So I don't remember if I zoomed in or out, so let's just take the one. There, found. I had the other one up here, so moving up here. Both there. I need to start at 2AU. And then while that's scanning, I ignore this result. Found. Let's just ignore that now. So there's one here. And here it's a bit hard to see if it's within this one or this one, and it's kind of found something. So in this case, I just go directly for it here. It does have that circle saying that it is within that, but still, when it's the X, I don't really trust it, so I prefer to go out to 4AU, even though it might have been within the 2AU range. Here we have it. Zoom in once, scan. Now when you have at least the maximum skills that I have, You can do it a little bit faster. Let me just scan this down before doing that. Oops, that's another one that's a little bit tricky. So again, making sure, zooming in, that I'm on the sensor. There it is. Zooming out. There's a lot of stuff down here also. So now I need to go down there, and I see that there is a planet down here. So I'm centering on that one, and then making sure that I'm there, taking the scan resolution out to 4AU, and start scanning. And you should find quite a few on this one. Yep, did. And now I can start scanning those. So with the maximum strength, what I found is that I can just go to one here, then I can go directly from 4AU and 2 times into 1AU. I just need to make sure that I'm not too far off. I could be in the situation where it's kind of this when I zoom in, and then I might not get a good hit on it. So just make sure that you are centered. So I didn't go to 2AU, went directly to 1AU, and that finds most of the signatures in this second attempt. And that speeds up a lot, because the 2AU might not get it, but the 1AU then does. And now I can just go to the next one, 1AU, scan. I ignore this one. There. Next one. Oops. Go. So, I don't know if you noticed that I had a better handle on this signature, but when I scanned the other one, this came out. And that was because this was on the border of the scan image I got, so it updated that one. That's kind of annoying when that happens, but that's just part of the game. So this one wasn't as optimized, so now I have one where I need to just go in one bit. This one. There. Going on to the next one. Oh, this is again one that's where it's a mix. Here I just have to remember that, yeah, this one is the furthest one away, but my initial scan was done from up here, from the planet. So this is the one that seems to be further away. So let's just see if I'm right. Just taking it out to 1AU. That one. And it really wasn't. So then I just go to the other one and say, okay, let's try that one. So not always clear cut which is the right one on those ones, as I also mentioned. Wow, this is tricky. So I'm at half AU, which is almost one. So this, a quarter AU, that's the closest one I can do. And then analyzing that one. There, I got it. Now, if your scanning skills are not maximum, you can get into a position where, or a situation where, even at the half AU scan and you're spot on, you cannot scan it down. There are some that are just really, really hard to scan down. Then you can have some tricks where you can kind of align the individual probes to get a better resolution, but I would say don't mess with that. The level up and just ignore that one for now. But I'm on the next one, so I need to go out to the 1AU again, scanning this one. So I don't think there's a need to go for all of these. I think you get the idea. But that's how I scan. I'm not saying that this is the way of scanning. This is just the way I do it, and I think I'm pretty fast at doing it. And yeah, to recap the tricks: double click to go on these planes. Grab a hold of this one, so you're sure you're only um, moving it in one of those three planes, and aligning it on both is key. Clicking one to center, which makes it a lot easier when you need to zoom in and out to make sure that you are dead on. And then the shortcuts that I have 1, 2, 3. You can have whatever, but having those shortcuts, just going in and out, and and then hitting the 3 key to analyze, just makes it so much faster than having to go up here to move this one and then hitting analyze. Shortcuts are just way nicer, in my opinion. So that's my almost 30 minutes on how I do scanning. I hope you found it useful and had some nice tricks that helps you to faster scanning, because there's nothing worse than having to scan down 10 or 15 signatures if you're not really that optimized in how you do it. Even I find that kind of boring to scan all that down. So being fast at this is kind of key. Please hit the thumbs up if you like it, and feel free to post any comments you have, further questions if that's the case, and I'll try and reply back as quick as possible. So for now, this is it. Fly safe out there, and I'll see you in space.